So, yeah, I'm going to talk about RxJS version 5. And I choose this picture because I imagine the car being Angular 2. And then Igor is at the wheel. And Bradley Green is in the comms, like say, okay, hold it, hold it, hold it. And Igor is just, pushing the gas, like, yeah, we are going to start the race. But as you know, Angular 2 is not ready yet. So I wanted to capture this excitement. And a lot of people is really excited about Angular 2. And I think this picture is really capturing that. So, well, I'm Gerard Sans, and this is my Twitter handler. You probably know me by this avatar. It's not really looking anything like me, but I choose it because it kind of inspires me. And when I'm a little bit down, I like to think of this white tiger that it's kind of making me fight for when I'm trying to write a post or when I'm trying to do something hard. So it's helping me. And I would like to talk about other conferences. So maybe you haven't seen this. This is a new ngconf logo. And this conference is the biggest one. It's happening in May. I'll be there. All the cool guys will be there. And if you can make it, you can talk to your boss, make it happen. It's really recommended. It will be, pack of Angular 2 stuff and new things in Angular 1. Then later in September, there's Angular Connect. If there is anybody, someone from London here or the UK? No? Okay, hey. So, yeah, this is the biggest conference in Europe. So if you can also make it happen by the end of September, it's really recommended. So let's start it. So one way to look at RxJS is maybe the formal definition would be asynchronous data streams. And the first reaction I get from people is something like this. So people is a little bit, oh my God, asynchronous data streams. Why? Why are you doing this to me, Gerard? So I'm like, okay, let me explain. It's not that difficult. So let's talk about asynchronous in JavaScript. So when we deal with asynchronous task, we are just saying, usually we use callbacks. So maybe the easiest example would be when we set a click event handler, and we are just saying, okay, when the user will click on this button, we will handle that click, that event, in this way. So we will add our code there. And that's mainly what we are saying is like, okay, we want this to happen when this action happens in the future. So that's really all of it. And it's pretty much the way it works with the streams. Then, obviously, we have the data. And I like the word streams because it gives you the idea of a river or a flow. So the data is just flowing through this stream. And it can be any data. So if we are working with JavaScript, that will be like primitive types, or in ECMAScript 6 will be maps, sets. All these things will work just as well. And then finally we have the idea of streams. And streams can be really seen as sequences, but instead of having for example, an array, instead of having the array already in memory, we are getting just the values, over time. And as with the event handler of a click event, we don't know when this event will be triggered, but we know that when it triggers, we will, handle it. Let's see one example. So let's think of a very simple stream that is just emitting 1, 2, 3, and then it completes. So that's a pretty easy stream. and we subscribe to it, and then every time there's a value pushed to that stream, we will receive a notification, and obviously we will set some event handlers for the different events. One will be, as we saw with Rob, we have like different event handlers for a new value. Then when we get the completed notification, and then when we get an error. So let's see what this may look like. So we get one value, then we get another value, and then we get the last value, and it ends. So there's nothing scary. It could be like an array. The difference with an array is when we're working with arrays, we need the array, so it's just there. It's already in memory. It's not coming from anywhere. Nobody's pushing the values. All the values are there already. So that's, I think that's an easy example, but need it so you don't get too much scared. I also like to introduce these pull and push concepts, and basically we will be talking about asynchronous as push, and then we can work with promises as we probably do with Angular 1, or observables. These would be the two primitives that we can use. Then for pull, this would be mostly when we are working with arrays, generators, iterables, in ECMAScript 6. And these would be mainly synchronous. And we can deal with these different types of processing using these primitives. Streams have been around for a long time. In JavaScript, they are pretty recent, but they appear in 1973 in Unix systems. Maybe you have seen that, or you remember that from the command line. And they were called like pipes. So you could just pass the content of a file, and then you could just print out the content. Pretty silly usage, but you can use compose on more complex constructs. So that's 1973. Then I've been following the story on JavaScript. So we get streams in Node.js, 2009. Then some years after, we get the implementation from Microsoft. And this is the year when they open sourced the code. But they have been working with observables like few years before. And now more recently, we have Angular 2 using them. So you can see like it's a long time span, and there's a lot of books and blogs, and there's everything about observables. It's just that it seems like from time to time they come back, people start liking them, and then they try to use them and get forgotten, and then they come back again. And in JavaScript, they're doing a big comeback. So that's why we are talking about it. I think before getting into RxJS, it's good to do some crash course on arrays, and some people will be a little bit bored. But let's see if you know this. Who knows or is familiar with all of these array methods? Okay, pretty much everyone. Well, one thing that they give us is they allow us to compose on them, so we can chain them and build more complex logic. I will just go through it like really quick. So the basic one is for each. We can see on the top a for loop implementation, and then using the for each on array. So yeah, the implementation is pretty obvious. I took the commits from the GitHub, the Angular 2 project. So we can see that Igor is at the top, and then followed by Brian and Jeff. Pretty cool stuff. Then the next one that we can look at is map. And yeah, we are just returning a new instance in an object, and in this case we are projecting the name. So we are getting rid of commits here. Nothing special. Then we can also use filter. And if you see what we are doing from like a RxJS5 like basic implementation to a more functional one, you can see that we are losing some implementation details, and that is the base to use composition. We also have reduce, and sometimes people get a little bit confused about reduce. I think that this example puts it really well. Maybe I'm too old, so I'm more used to the example at the top. So we are just setting an initial value, and then we are using that value as an accumulator, and we are getting the commits, and for every iteration we are just adding these commits to the total. If we use the reduced version of it, we are setting the initial value as a parameter, as an argument, and then we have the accumulator first, and then we have the different items as a second argument. And then the logic is pretty much the same. So if you can see the both of them at the same time, it's like really easy. And when we work on these concepts, we can see that at the end, we can compose, and we just, passing the functions to the filter map or for each, and it gets like really easy to follow. And we can use these functions then in other places, giving us a really nice code base. So that was just the beginning, and that's mainly an introduction, so you don't get lost. RxJS version 5 is a rewrite. Is now on Vita number 2, and the main changes are on performance. It can be like 4 times quicker than the previous version, and then we have also that it complies with the specification of ECMAScript 7 observables. So that's pretty cool. And then it also improves the developer experience while debugging. These are the main contributors. We can see from the top left, Andre, then Ben Lesh, Ojiki1, then Rob Wormel, that was talking before, and that's Peter Taylor, I think. And yeah, I totally recommend it to follow these guys and see what they are contributing. Rob Wormel, as he mentioned, he's working on this cool, how it's called, I think it's NGRX store. Yeah, that's pretty neat. So let's see a basic implementation of an observable. Rob covered this briefly before, so I'm just showing a different implementation. We have a try-catch, and we are handling just pushing some values, then completing the stream. There's no asynchronous processing here. They will just call, push the value 1, push the value 2, push the value 3, and then just trigger complete. The way we can express this, because sometimes when we are working in a project, we want to communicate what our observables are doing. A good and nice way to do that is using marble diagrams, and they look exactly like this. So we can see like a timeline, and then when we push a value, we can see the value just there, and then there's some time in between. Then the 1 comes, the 2 comes, the 3 comes, and then it goes. So that's another idea. If we have set time, every second we will get a value, but there's no ending. So we don't know when it will end. It's just open. We can also use like concrete sets of information. So for example, if we take an array, we have the from array, and that will just automatically pick the values, push them, and then just call the complete. So these are some helpers. There's also a good time to mention how it handles errors. So if we throw while we are doing or composing on the observable, it will just trigger this handler for errors. And we can express that with this hash. There's a tool, a really nice tool that maybe I can show briefly. So this is a visual tool that you can use and you can play around a little bit. It's really interactive. I just wanted to mention it. We can also see there are other like nice helpers when we want to create our observables, probably when you are learning about them, so you don't have to implement the observable from scratch, as I just shown. So we can take like values, a list of arguments. We can also use promises. There's a good integration with promises. If you have like a legacy application, it's really easy to integrate. And then, yeah, I can start mentioning the dollar. Maybe you have noticed I'm using a dollar at the end. And that's kind of a naming convention. So when you are using an observable, if you can add a dollar, that's used in Cycle.js or Bacon. And it's nice to know when you are dealing with this type. Obviously, if you use TypeScript or your tooling is showing you this information, that's not needed that much. We can also see that we can hook into events. And we would do it like this. So we have seen how we define the observable, and really, we won't be receiving any of these values. So when I created that observable with pushing 1, 2, 3, nothing will happen until I subscribe. And that's one of the properties of observables. They are lazy or kind of off. So until we subscribe, they won't be emitting any values. When we subscribe, we will set up these event handlers. So when we push a value, the first one will be called next. Then if there is an exception, the second one will be called. And then when it finishes, the complete will be called. So it looks like pretty much like promises. The only difference is we have when we push a value and then when it finishes. And obviously we have the error handling. We can also use an object, and then we use the different keys to just pass in the callback. I can also introduce the difference between hot versus cold. This is a little bit more advanced, but if you heard about it, I like you to know what it means. So all the observables are called by default in RxJS, and if you want to create a hot observable, you have to use the shared operator, and then that will be more or less like a video. So imagine that you go to Netflix and you are watching a video, and then there's another guy watching another video. Each of you will be seeing like 2 different instances. When it's hot, there's only one instance, and that's shared with all the subscribers. So that's the main difference. So by default, know that they are called, but if you want to share one stream with many subscribers, you need to use shared. And basically, yeah, one is sync, the other one is not sync. So if you're learning, you can get a little bit confused in that sense. I think Rob also showed this case. So we can subscribe, and in this case, I choose like a Twitter feed, and we are receiving these tweets, and obviously, we may want to unsubscribe so we don't get like an overflow of tweets coming from the backend. And the way you do that is with unsubscribe. I'm not showing the implementation, but Rob showed that previously. We are just returning a function from the observable. Let's see some operators. So RxJS has a lot of them, and maybe we can review the different features that they are offering. So we have some simple operators. We have the common ones like map, filter, reduce, then first, last, and the meaning is obvious. And then we also have some options to merge different observables. And then we have, for example, we can concatenate different observables, and then you get the obvious result. Every value will be just concatenated after we push the value. We can also use some buffering options like throttle or debounce. And these are really nice when you are implementing some features. The debugging history is not really covered. So we have some tools. There is some work on the tools, but it's not finished yet. So the main resource we can use is the do. So that will go through all the values and then allow us to do some processing there. And usually what we will do is just add a message to the console. The other way we can use to debug, because it can get a little bit complex when we just merge and concatenate different observables, it just go back to the Marvel diagram and just try to figure it out which step are you in. So that's some advice. Let's see how RxJS5 is used in Angular 2. Basically, it's used for asynchronous processing. Then we have usage in HTTP, forms, validation. Then we also have the event emitter that is using a observable behind. And that's a lot of cool stuff. So I hope you have transitioned it from the, where you were worried, now you are a little bit happier. I have implemented a Wikipedia Search. There's some goodies there. I won't go too much into detail. I just want to show you how it looks. So it looks more or less like this. Oop. No. Okay. So it's pretty easy. You can use anything. Nothing is blocked. It's all cool. I want to show you a really nice feature I shown before. I was really wow, what's going on? So I just turn on the Wi-Fi, the network. So I want to still keep using it, and I get the errors. So I want to Microsoft Live Labs. Okay, it's not working. I'm getting the errors, but there's something strange. I'm getting the same call repeated, one after time. And that is because I'm using retry. And every time that I get an error, the same observable is triggered again, is replayed. And I'm getting this just by adding this operator. So if I get my connectivity back, you will see that I'm not doing anything. And just as having, a timeout, it will just come back with the results. Okay. Maybe not. Nothing is happening. What? Okay. Okay, let's try again. That should work. Okay, so you can see the results. So these are the last results. Now I want to look for Angular. It's not working. Come on. RxJS, yes! So it just recovered. It's so dangerous. It's so dangerous when you try this live stuff. So, yeah, I wanted to show you this. This is just... okay. So we can see that Microsoft Live Labs was working on these different things. And, oh, what's that? That's the logo from RxJS. So this is from an old project from Microsoft, really cool stuff. So that was, you will have this slide so you can check the example in more details. So why observables? Basically, we have synchronous and asynchronous processing, powerful operators, we have less code. You have some other goodies that I want to put out here. Maybe the coolest one is the last one. So some cones that you can, I prepared for you. So if you want to learn more, you can go here. There are some tests that you can just uncomment and try to figure it out what's the correct result. Cool stuff. I also will be doing a Ask Me Anything session just after this talk. I have 2 free books, so I usually give them to the people with good questions. So if you prepare a good question, you can get a free book, a free copy of this ebook. And that's all I got.